Tonight's message is about sharing. It wasn't about that a minute ago, but it just became about sharing. So ignore the verses on the back of the... No, not really.
The lesson is about going commando.
Going Commando. That's the message tonight. That's the title. Going Commando. What exactly does it mean to go commando? Well, that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
Apparently there's the hashtag beards and butts.
That is the hashtag for tonight.
The title?
It might. We'll find out as we go through the story.
If it does, I don't want to find out.
What is this thing sticking out into the Gulf of Mexico right here? It's a peninsula. Anyone? Actually, it has the name of it right there, so that's a kind of a foolish question. Can you read? What is the name of that peninsula? That is the Yucatan Peninsula. The Yucatan Peninsula. Yucatan is the Mayan word for I don't understand what you're saying. Yucatan is the Mayan word for I don't know what you are saying. And so when the Spanish conquistadors arrived at this peninsula, they went to the Mayans there and they said, "What's this place called?" And the Mayans said, "Yucatan." And so that's how it got its name, because they were just saying, "I don't understand what you're saying." But they all called it, well, we'll call this place Yucatan then. So that's where the name of that peninsula came from. And misunderstandings in history, they can be funny like that, or they can lead to wars. Misunderstandings have literally led to wars in history. And there's so many stories that I just decided to stick with the Yucatan one, but lots of wars have been started because there was a misunderstanding between two countries. That's what this story is similar to tonight. This is a story about a misunderstanding between the Israelites and a group of people called the Ammonites. And let's start whenever Saul was king. This is from 1 Samuel, but Saul was king before King David was king. And so when Saul was king, he started off pretty good. He was a pretty good guy. And one of the first things that happened after he became king, these people called the Ammonites came in, and they attacked one of the Israelite towns. Okay, so here's what happened. Then Nahash the Ammonite came up and encamped against Jabesh Gilead. That's one of the Israelite cities. And all the men of Jabesh said to Nahash, "Make a covenant with us and we will serve you." They were saying, "Let's make a peace treaty so you don't hurt us." But Nahash the Ammonite answered them, "On this condition I will make a covenant with you, that I may put out all your right eyes and bring reproach on all Israel. So what was the goal of the Ammonites here? They want to bring reproach on all Israel. And reproach, it says in other translations, he wants to bring disgrace on them. He wants to embarrass them. So he says, here's the deal I'm going to make with you. I put out all your eyes to disgrace you guys, and then we can have peace. So he just wanted to disgrace them. That was kind of how they wanted to operate. Do you guys ever know people like that just kind of want to pick on you? And they just want to disgrace you? That's their whole goal, is they just want to find something to pick on you about. There's people like that. So it says next in the story, so the messengers came to Gibeah of Saul, that's where Saul was, told the news in the hearing of the people, and all the people lifted up their voices and wept. And now there was Saul coming behind the herd from the field. And Saul said, "What troubles the people that they weep?" Now here's something I just really love about Saul. Where did it say he came from? Yeah, he was coming in from the field. He became king, and he didn't just go build a palace and live with it and tell people what to do. When he started off as king, he just kept doing what he was doing before. He just kept being a farmer. And he was the king of Israel, and they went out and found him in a field, and they're like, "Hey, one of our cities is being attacked." And so he just came up, and it says he came up behind the oxen. So he started off as a pretty good king, setting a lot of good leadership lessons from the beginning of Saul's reign. But anyway, it's really dramatic what happens next. So Saul comes up with his oxen, and they say, "Saul, this is what's happening over in Jabesh Gilead." And they're crying, and they're like, "What are we going to do?" And he just pulls out his sword, goes up to his oxen, and just cuts it in half. And then he cuts it up into a bunch of little pieces and sends them out all over Israel and says to the Israelites, "This is what's going to happen to you if you don't help us defend Jabesh Gilead." He got the people to band together with a pretty compelling illustration there and said, "Hey, we're all going to band together and help Jabesh Gilead, or this is what's going to happen to you." And the people did it. He knew how to get people moving. So he's a tough guy. Okay, well, Saul, he turned bad later. Most of us focus on the bad part of his reign, but he started off pretty good. Now David is king. We've been going through 2 Samuel, and that's where David's king. Saul has died, but they're still having a problem here with the Ammonites. And so we pick up the story here in 2 Samuel chapter 10. It happened after this that the king of the people of Ammon died, and Hanun his son reigned in his place. And then David said, I will show kindness to Hanun the son of Nahash as his father showed kindness to me. So David got along a little bit better with the Ammonites than they had got along before. And now there's a new king of the Ammonites, and David's just saying, okay, well, I want to make sure that we just get off on the right foot with these guys. I want to start off, make a good first impression with the new king. And it says, so David sent by the hand of his servants to comfort him concerning his father. And David's servants came into the land of the people of Ammon. So he's just sending them, and they're just supposed to come and say, hey, we give you our condolences. We're sorry that your dad died. That's all that they're trying to say to the king. And the princes of the people of Ammon said to Hanun their lord, do you think that David really honors your father because he has sent comforters to you? Has not David rather sent his servants to search you out, to search the city and spy it out and to overthrow it? So it's a big misunderstanding here. David's sending them along just to be nice and say, hey, our condolences to you. We're sorry that your dad died. But the king thinks, David's sending them along to spy out our city so he can come attack us later. Well, we got to do something about this. Misunderstanding right there. And here's what it says in verse 4. Therefore, Hanun took David's servants, shaved off half their beards, cut off their garments in the middle at their buttocks, and sent them away. Now, I remember when I first read this story years ago, I was in the living room, Emily was in the kitchen, and I just started laughing, and she walks in, she's like, what's so funny? I'm like, the word buttocks is in the Bible. I didn't know it was there. So I thought it was, and then I never had dreamed that I would be doing a sermon on it years later. But buttocks is in the Bible, so it's there. You do with that what you want. Then they told David, and he sent to meet them because the men were greatly ashamed. Okay, we probably would have been too because their butts were hanging out. And the king said, wait at Jericho until your beards have grown, and then return. So I think the men were probably more ashamed about their beards than they were about their pants being cut, which I guess the beard thing was probably more permanent, but it's just kind of funny.
So are they just supposed to go unevenly?
I don't know. I think he probably cut it off here. I don't think he means half the face, but I guess it doesn't say. But he probably cut it off right about here, and he cut their pants off. Now, why was the beard shaving so egregious? Why was this so mean of him to do that? Because, in the ancient times, a beard represented, which it still somewhat does today, but all men had beards because the beard represented, masculinity and that you're tough. And it represented adulthood. And it can mean that today too, but it's okay to not have a beard nowadays for a lot of guys. I don't even like having, I shave twice a week. I don't like having facial hair just because it gets itchy. Although sometimes facial hair can look pretty cool. In fact, I was at a concert, an outdoor concert with Emily and her family last year at some time. Maybe it was this year. Anyway.
That's bad I don't remember that.
There was this, we were seeing Mercy Me, but they had these other people, Need to Breathe. Oh, okay, Need to Breathe. We were seeing a group called Need to Breathe, but they had this other one open up that I hadn't heard of. It was called Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors. Has anyone never heard of them? And I don't remember what the music was like, but I was just entranced with this guy's beard. This was the most amazing beard. I don't even remember any of the songs that they sang. I was just watching, wow, that is one magnificent beard that he's got on there. Does anyone else agree with me? Do you see it, or is it just, okay.
It's perfectly shaped.
So anyway, it's a great group to see live if you ever get the opportunity. I was just captivated by this guy throughout the song. And then I started thinking, what are some other great beards in history? So I put together my own slideshow. Epic beards in world history. This is just my opinion. I know you're not supposed to preach your opinion. You're supposed to preach the Bible. But I felt like this was a really appropriate place to break in with this important information that Otto the Great, this guy's tried to start the Ottoman Empire tried to restart the Roman Empire hundreds of years ago. His name was Otto the Great. Now, I don't think his beard's that super impressive, but he sure did, because whenever he'd make a deal with somebody, he would swear by his beard, because he was so proud of it. He would say, I swear by my beard, I will do this and that. And so I thought, well, that can get you on the list.
Can you if you shave it off, then it'd be you would
you wouldn't have to keep your promise? Maybe that was the trick. I don't know. Never thought about that. Another great beard in history, Chester A. Arthur, a president of the United States. And
Is that even considered a beard?
it goes all the way back with the sideburns. It's the sideburns. Okay, maybe it's not technically a beard.
It's a combination of a mustache and sideburns.
mustache and sideburns, but it's connected. There's a little bit of beard there in the middle.
No, there's
I just thought it was
was
on the middle right here.
beard is chin. It kind of looks like a goatee without the chin part.
I thought it was just interesting that we had a president of the United States that looked like that, because there's not a lot of hope. If you look at all the candidates running today, it would be a whole lot easier to pick who should be president if one of them had a beard. I think that would just make it a lot easier. But they're all clean-shaven. And if you look in history, almost all the presidents are clean-shaven. So there's not a lot of beards in there. If she grows a beard, I'll vote for her. If Hillary Clinton grows a beard, I will cast my vote in her favor. But no, there's not a lot of presidents that had great beards. But this guy, at least he had something going on. He was trying. Okay, there's this guy named Horace Greeley. Now, this was a newspaper.
It doesn't even look like he has a beard. It
Well,
looks like it's like growing.
Right. This was a newspaper editor who ended up running for president against Ulysses S. Grant in the late 1800s. Now, he had such an epic neck beard that it's just bursting out of his shirt right there.
He looks like a werewolf.
I don't know what that, I don't know. I know he looks like a werewolf or something. I wasn't sure if it was a neck beard or if it was chest hair that was out of control or if he stuffed a llama down his shirt before he got up that morning. I don't know. But anyway, I thought, well, we'll put Horace in there. Now, there was a president with maybe the greatest beard on the whole list. Ulysses S. Grant himself, who ran against this guy for president. Now, he had the beard going on. That's Grant right there. Grant, he was the Civil War general for the North, wasn't he? And then he became president later. Yeah. So anyway, I thought an honorable mention should go to Colonel Sanders. It's not really a beard, but he's got this goatee that's right in the middle. And Daniel Beard as well. Okay, his beard's not as cool as some of the others, but this is the guy who started the Boy Scouts. And his last name is Beard. So I thought, well, he's got to be a famous beard in history. His last name is Beard. Okay, finally, here's the last one. Admiral Alfred von Tirpitz. He was a German general, and I included him because he was growing two beards. And I thought, wow, there's someone. One beard was not good enough for this guy. He had to be growing two of them. I know, I'm just joking around. But, if he was in this story with the Ammonites, see, if they'd cut off half his beard, he would have been fine because he still had another one on the other side. So he would have been totally fine in this story if he had been here. But anyway, before we were too hard on the Ammonites, okay, they cut off half the beards, and it made the men greatly ashamed. They could have just killed the Israelites, so I guess we could give them some sympathy. At least they didn't go that far. They didn't just kill them. They made it a more entertaining story when it turned out to be just beards and butts. But anyway, what I was wanting to show about the Ammonites, their modus operandi, or however you say that, their MO was to embarrass people. Because you saw them doing that, well, we're just going to bring a disgrace on Israel and gouge out their eyes. And then 50 years later, oh, well, we're just going to cut off their beards and cut off their pants and expose their butts, and we're just going to embarrass them. I mean, that was their plan. They just want to pick on them. That's what it said in the Bible. Okay. So their MO was they just wanted to embarrass people. That's what they wanted to do. They're bullies. That's what a bully does a lot of the time. You guys will have to deal with bullies in life. And bullies are not always going to be, probably not anymore in life, they're not going to meet you behind the cafeteria at recess to beat you up. That's not going to happen. That probably didn't happen to you before. It's not going to happen in the future. Most of the bullies are going to be verbal. They're going to attack you with their words. They're going to try to beat you down with their words. That's what you're going to have to deal with all through life. That's what you're going to have to deal with. So in this story, what David did was he called up Joab and his brother Abishai. And we've read some stories about them before. And he called them in to deal with the mess. He said when David heard of it, he sent Joab and all the army of mighty men. And so Joab gets the armies together, and they're going to go teach the Ammonites a lesson. And they do. But he makes this really great speech. That's what I want to get to today. Joab makes this really great speech to all the troops, getting them ready for the battle to go get revenge on the Ammonites because they're just being jerks. Well, this is what he says to them. Be of good courage, and let us be strong for our people and for the cities of our God, and may the Lord do what is good in his sight. And so he's saying, we're going to go up against them. We're going to fight for our people. And in the end, we're going to put this in God's hands and let him deal with it. However it turns out, it's in God's hands. We're just going to do our best. And so anyway, I want to talk about two things tonight. We got time. I want to talk about two things. One of them is misunderstandings, and the other one is bullies, how to deal with bullies. But the first one about jumping to conclusions and misunderstandings, this whole thing it stemmed totally from just a misunderstanding. Misunderstandings are very common among all people. Even between me and Emily, we're married, okay, so we should know each other better than anyone, yet we still have a lot of misunderstandings. Like the other night, we were messing with I was trying to tell Marty to do something, and Marty just gets this confused look on his face when I try to say anything other than sit or yell his name at him, which means stop all the time, or he knows the word no. But it's just about anything else. He just gives me this confused look and tilts his head back and forth. So Emily says, Luke, why are you putting all the pressure on him? Why don't you just learn how to speak dog? And I'm like, I just had this weird look. The Martin Freeman face is what I call it. But misunderstandings can be common. Another time, just last week, me and Emily were walking out of our class at Crowder. We were at the Whip City campus. And I was tired that night. I think it was last Tuesday. And I was tired, and I said, Emily, I want to go home and make a pot of coffee. And Emily's like, hey, that sounds good. I want to have some too. And I said, hey, lady, you need to get your own pot. Well, I said that right as we were walking out the doors. So I realized after we got outside, if anybody had been standing outside, all that they heard me say was, hey, you need to get your own pot. That would have been all that they heard from the conversation. They would have thought I was probably talking about something totally different than a pot of coffee. But misunderstandings can be common. Here's one last one that I saw. I just saw it on the internet last night, and it cracked me up. This headline, and it says on there, cheeseburger stabbing. And then underneath the picture, the person wrote, I can't understand if someone stabbed someone else over a cheeseburger, or if someone stabbed someone else with a cheeseburger, or if someone stabbed a cheeseburger, or if a cheeseburger stabbed someone, or if a cheeseburger stabbed another cheeseburger. Good theories all around. And I think the people on this picture, they looked as confused as probably anyone seeing that picture would have been too. But anyway, the thing I just say about misunderstandings, they're so common and they're so easy to do. Give people the benefit of the doubt. It's safer to give people the benefit of the doubt and wait till you have all the facts in before you rush out and get mad at someone or judge them for it. Wait till you have all the facts rolling in. Actually, last week, I've mentioned I do these interviews at the radio station like almost every day. I interview different authors, and they're all on Christian books. It's like the favorite part of my job. And I've been doing it for years. I had this author last week or 2 weeks ago, and when I started talking to him on the phone, I never had this happen before. Before we even started the interview, he just got really angry with me, and he's like, well, I can tell you haven't read the book and you don't know anything about me. And he said, maybe you can just call me back after you've done your homework. And I was like, does he really expect... For me, I do these interviews like several of them a day a lot of times. I don't have time to read every single book before I do the interview. So the publisher or the publicist will just send me some interview questions and tell me what the book is about. And I don't know anything about the authors, except if I haven't heard of them before, I just read the bio about them that's on the back of the book. I really don't know anything about any of them. But anyway, this guy just got really mad about it. And he's like, well, I can tell you don't know anything about me, so do your homework and then you can call me back, Now, I wasn't really mad. I was just kind of surprised. I was like, I never had someone be like that to me before. But I didn't go complain about him to his publicist or anything because I thought, I don't know what's going on with him. It was a misunderstanding between me and him. He's probably not always like that. So anyway, you just got to be careful because you don't always know what's going on in someone else's life. Maybe he was being a jerk. Or maybe you don't know what could have been going on in his life. It's just, there's lots of things that could happen. So be careful about jumping to conclusions. And remember that the less you like somebody, or if you're angry at somebody, the more likely you're going to be to jump to a conclusion about them. You will usually just jump to the worst thing a lot of times. If it's someone, even if it's somebody you love, if you're mad at them, you will often be really quick to jump to like the worst conclusion about them a lot of times. Think the worst. And just try not to do that. And know that it's really, really possible if it's someone you don't like. I've jumped to the wrong conclusions about people before. A lot of times it's because I was mad at them about something. And so they did something and I just assumed their reasons for doing something I didn't like were like something devious or evil, and it really wasn't that in the end. Okay, one more thing I want to talk about tonight is handling bullies. Because like we said, the Ammonites are just bullies. They just want to humiliate the Israelites. They just want to pick on them. And that's how most of the bullies that you'll meet in life are, even as adults. They're going to be bullies with their words, not punching you a lot of the time. And so Joab's method for dealing with them, I think he gives really 3 really good tips here, not to make bullies go away. I can't give you just 3 steps to making a bully go away, but here's 3 tips for how to deal with them. 3 tips for how to tolerate them in your life. Let me read the verse here again. He said, "Be of good courage, and let us be strong for our people and for the cities of our God, and may the Lord do what is good in his sight." So the first thing he says there is, be of courage. He says, be of courage. You know, in the Bible it says, if God is for you, who can stand against you? And that means if you are in the right, if someone's picking on you and being a jerk, but you haven't done anything wrong, it means God is on your side, okay? God knows that you are right. This other person might be saying whatever they want, but in the eyes of God, which are the only eyes that matter, God knows that you haven't done anything wrong. And so that should just give you kind of like a peace. Whenever you just want to fight back at them and start a conflict with them, just remember that you haven't done anything wrong, and God knows that. Oh, and one more thing to say about that. Make sure you're standing on what is right. Anytime you ever want to confront a bully or get rid of them, make sure that what you're standing on is the truth and what is right, and that you're on solid ground, because otherwise the bully can try to take you down. So always make sure you're standing on the side of truth. It's okay to stand up for yourself, but make sure what you're standing on is solid. Second thing he said, be strong for our people. And one thing I would say about bullies, you're always going to be stronger fighting for someone else than for yourself. You're always going to do better defending another person than you are going to do defending yourself. Defend other people. If you see someone else being picked on, I think it's a really good Christian thing to go in and say, hey, you know, you see a bully picking on someone because they're weaker or whatever, to defend that person and get the bully to stop, because you're often going to have more strength or force against bullies if you're defending another person. And then maybe people will see that and want to defend you as well. But if you're dealing with a bully, it's a lot of times better to wait for someone else to defend you than for you to defend yourself. Because if you have a personal issue with someone, if you go around seeking to get people on your side and stuff like that, often that can just make the conflict get way bigger than you want it to. It looks like you're going around trying to make me versus them. And often you just want to wait for God to send someone else to come along and defend you than just standing up for yourself all the time. Although it's okay to stand up for yourself, but be patient and wait and see if God will help work this out before you try to do it yourself. And then finally what it says here, Joab says, may the Lord do what is good in his sight. And at the end of the day, you just got to give it to God. You just got to say, God, you know, I've got this issue with someone picking on me in my life. I need you to help me deal with it. At the end of the day, you just got to ask God to help you deal with this, for God to send the people to help you deal with it, for God to make this person leave you alone. Because the earth and everything in it is God's. You guys know it says in that verse in Romans 12, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, be at peace with everybody. So that means, yeah, you can't always be at peace with everybody because there are jerks out there. But do whatever you can to be at peace with people, and then give it to God and just let God deal with it the rest of the way. As we close, just remember that manhood, it doesn't come from the size of your beard. It comes from being strong as a coursing river and as swift as the great typhoon and fierce as the raging... Okay, no one knows what I'm talking about. Never mind. Now, here's the real close. So these men, they were made to feel ashamed for something that they didn't do wrong. They were ashamed of their beards, and it was something that they had not really done to themselves. But beards are one thing that really pales in comparison to what Jesus did. Jesus felt our shame. Jesus took all the shame on him for stuff that he didn't do wrong. Jesus took all the shame that we deserved, all of our sin, and he put it on himself, and he didn't deserve any. Just like these men in the story didn't deserve to have their beards and their clothes cut off, Jesus didn't deserve what happened to him, but he actually willingly took it. He took our shame on himself. And that's who I always want to turn our attention back to at the end of every sermon. These men were just physically naked for a short time. They were just physically. But the Bible says spiritually, we are naked unless we have Jesus. And Jesus comes in and Jesus clothes us so that we're pure in God's sight. Because of what Jesus did, that's why everything can work out for us in the end, and we don't have to deal with that shame. So that's what I end with tonight. Just praise God for that. Thank you guys for being here tonight. It's great to see all of you. There's boxes of it. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll pop up some popcorn. So let's pray before we go. Dear Lord, thanks for tonight. Help us to remember these lessons that Joab gave us for dealing with bullies. And Lord, I know that we can't just always snap our fingers and make all of our problems go away. It'd be nice if it could. But God, that you give us these resources to deal with it, that we can put up with them for a while because we know that you see what's right and wrong. And we know that if we stay righteous in your eyes, if we do what's right in your eyes, that your eyes are all that matters.